The fence-line feud. On a crisp Tuesday morning in rural Tennessee, the air carried the scent of hay and the promise of trouble. Walter Hayes, a weathered rancher with 60 years of dirt under his nails, sipped his coffee on the porch of his century-old farmhouse. His land, a sprawling 200 acres of pasture and pride, had been in his family since the Civil War. But today, a stranger in a starched polo shirt and aviators strutted across the gravel line that marked Walter's property. The man, Harold Vance, was the new president of the Meadowview Homeowners Association, and he had a clipboard that screamed authority he didn't earn. Harold planted one polished shoe on Walter's side of the fence and declared, "This ain't technically trespassing." Walter didn't blink. He set his mug down like it had insulted him, reached for the cordless phone, and dialed Sheriff Tom Brody. "Tom," he said, his voice low and steady, "we got a live one. Bring handcuffs." Then he grinned, the kind of grin that promised dessert after a fight. The trouble began when Harold, trailed by two nervous lackeys, claimed Walter's rusted fence post Saturday, February 7th feet over the HOA's community greenway. Walter's niece, Ellie, a sharp-eyed 30-something with a knack for filming, already had her phone rolling. "You getting this, Ellie?" Walter asked. "Always," she replied, zooming in on Harold's smug smirk. Harold waved a highlighted map, tossing the word technically around like confetti. Walter, barefoot in overalls, stepped forward. "Son, this fence was here before your mama bought you those khakis. You want to talk lines? I've got 3 ways to measure your nonsense." Harold doubled down, citing HOA bylaws and a digital survey. Walter squinted at the map like it was scribbled by a toddler. "You're on a cow path, not a greenway. Step farther, and you'll learn the difference." But Harold, puffed up with the confidence of a man who'd never wrestled a calf, announced a compliance assessment. He claimed Article 12b gave him the right to inspect within 10 feet of the HOA boundary. Ellie laughed. "You think that applies to a working ranch?" That's when Walter grabbed the phone again. "Hey, Tom, it's Walt. Got an HOA fella on my land. Says he's not trespassing. Want to come teach him the law, or should I?" He paused, eyeing Harold's drone buzzing overhead. "Oh, he's got a drone too. Party's getting lively." By the time Harold realized what was happening, Walter was rocking in his chair, watching like it was a matinee. Sheriff Tom rolled up 20 minutes later, chewing gum and squinting. He'd known Walter since they were boys fishing in the creek. One look at Harold, standing on the wrong side of the fence, and Tom sighed. "Walt, how bad is it?" Walter nodded at Harold. "Says he's inspecting. Got papers and gall." Tom scanned the survey, snorted, and turned to Harold. "Got a warrant?" "Court order." Harold puffed up. "I've got Article 12b. Tom pointed at the dirt. "You're on Walt's land. I surveyed this line myself 30 years ago. His deed's ironclad. Your bylaws don't mean squat past that fence." Walter grinned. "Told you the sheriff clause trumps the HOA clause." Harold sputtered about right of entry and civil code. Tom cut him off. "You're not in court. You're on a ranch. And that drone? If it's over Walt's land without permission, you're lucky he didn't shoot it down." Walter chuckled. "Thought about jamming it. More poetic." Harold paled. "That's a federal offense." Tom shot back. "So's flying it over private land without consent." Ellie whispered to her cousin, "Nate, we should start a channel. HOA versus Walt, the showdown." Harold and his crew slunk back to their car, promising a report. Walter called after them, "Make it double-spaced so the judge can laugh." As they drove off, he turned to Ellie. "They'll be back. HOA types are like wasps. They bust till you swat 'em." That night, Walter sat with old survey maps and a pencil, plotting like a general. Nate, a wiry mechanic with a mischievous streak, showed up with a toolbox. They sipped coffee, eyeing the fence line like it was Gettysburg. Ellie knew then, Walter wasn't reacting. He was preparing. The next morning, a low buzz broke the quiet. A drone hovered above the tree line. Walter shielded his eyes. Guess they didn't learn. Ellie aimed her phone. "Let it get closer. I want the crash on film." Nate, carrying a metal lunchbox, grinned. Inside was a radio jammer he'd rigged in college. "Still works," he said. "Remember when we turned Channel 5 Spanish for a day?" Walter chuckled. They needed culture. The drone drifted toward the barn, its camera blinking. "In range," Ellie whispered. Nate hit the button. The drone sputtered, twitched, and crashed into the weeds with a thud. "That's pruning," Walter said. 30 minutes later, Harold's truck roared up. He wore a safety vest now, flanked by 2 new clipboard guys, one with a measuring wheel, the other with a toolkit. "We're here for the compliance check," Harold shouted. Walter stayed on the porch. "You know the law. Step through that gate. You're on my land." Harold waved a laminated paper. "Rule 14C lets us inspect 10 feet beyond the easement." Walter stood. "This ain't your cul-de-sac, Harold. That gate's literal. Cross it, and you'll meet what's on the other side." Harold, too proud to back down, unlatched the gate and marched through. One lackey followed, measuring while clicking. The other stayed back, muttering about liability. "Don't touch anything," Walter warned. Harold strutted along the fence, calling out fake violations, unapproved structure, encroachment, grass too tall. Walter muttered, "That's native pasture. Want to trim it? Bring scissors and guts." Nate stepped up. "Planning another drone, Harold?" Harold ignored him, snapping photos of Walter's lumber pile. "Fire hazard," he said. "Needs addressing." Then Harold made his fatal mistake. He slipped behind the barn, into a creek bed thick with mesquite trees, a spot Walter guarded like a vault. "He's not just trespassing," Nate said. "He's begging for judgment." They followed at a distance. Harold and his lackey found an old storage shack, a rusted metal box on stilts, locked tight. Harold tugged the padlock, then pried open a panel with a crowbar and stepped inside. "Need to inspect this," he said. "Could be unauthorized materials." Walter tapped Nate. Nate pulled a remote and pressed it. The shack's door slammed shut, locking Harold and his lackey inside. A muffled shout came from within. "Very funny. Let us out." Ellie, filming, grinned. "Please tell me this is legal," Walter smirked. "He broke in. That's a bigger crime than a timeout." Harold rattled the door. "This is unlawful detainment." Walter shouted back, "Like trespassing?" A pre-recorded message blared from a speaker. "You said it wasn't technically trespassing. Tell that to the sheriff." Ellie laughed. "You recorded that last night?" Walter nodded. "Had a feeling." Sheriff Tom arrived, thermos in hand. "Are they still in there?" Walter pointed. "Locked themselves in." Tom opened the shack. Harold stumbled out, red-faced, clutching a broken clipboard. He muttered threats, but Tom ignored him, taking statements. "You keep surprising me, Walt," Tom said, patting his shoulder. "One day, you'll make me write a book." Walter shrugged. Chapter 2 wrote itself. The next day, Harold tried again, this time with a lawyer, Susan Klein. She marched up, all business, and handed Walter a cease and desist notice. "You're obstructing HOA operations," she said. Walter leaned on the gate. "My land predates your HOA, your bylaws, and your clipboard boy." Susan insisted they had precedent. Tom, sipping coffee nearby, cut in. "Got a judge's order?" "No?" "Then you got nothing. This land's exempt from your charter." "I've seen the plan." Harold fumed. "So he can do whatever he wants?" Tom shrugged. "Out here, the law still means something." That night, Ellie set up trail cams. Nate wired sensors. Walter rigged a stadium light. At 2 a.m., the sensor chirped. The cam caught Harold and a board member, Rudy, sneaking along the creek with a measuring wheel and blueprints. "Just confirming measurements," Harold claimed when Walter's light pinned them. "This is private property," Walter said. "You're on it." Again, Tom arrived, exasperated. "I warned you. My dog's tired." "I'm tired." He escorted them off, promising an incident report. Ellie's video, HOA sneaks in, gets lit up, went viral by dawn. Harold didn't quit. He filed an injunction, claiming Walter's land was part of the HOA Greenway. A third-party surveyor was scheduled. Walter, Ellie, and Nate rigged the property with motion sensors, electric fence wire, and signs like "Smile, you're on court exhibit." When the surveyors arrived, Harold demanded access to the eastern field. Tom shut him down. "That's a request, not an order." Harold tried sneaking through the creek. A cowbell alarm loud as a freight train rang out. Ellie filmed it all. Kindon Trigger's grandpa's dinner bell hit the local news. Harold's board began to crumble. The final blow came on a humid Thursday night. Walter, restless, heard a metallic snip. He grabbed his unloaded rifle more for show and moved quietly. Ellie's cam showed two figures cutting the fence, planting stakes with pink tape. It was Harold and a young board member, Tim. They were redrawing the boundary. Walter stepped out. "Evening, boys. You're a long way from your clubhouse." Harold froze. "This is a boundary correction." Walter's voice was ice. "You're in my alfalfa field with bolt cutters, committing crimes." Ellie and Nate emerged. "You're on 4 cameras," Ellie said. Tom's cruiser rolled up. He looked at the cut fence, the stakes, and Harold's panicked face. I warned you 3 times. You turned a misunderstanding into a felony. He cuffed Harold and Tim. You want to contest lines? File a lawsuit. This is breaking. As they were led away, Ellie asked, Justice, Uncle Walt? He shook his head. Getting there. By morning, the town buzzed. Harold was suspended from the HOA. Tim resigned. Ellie's video spread like wildfire. At an emergency HOA meeting, Walter and Ellie showed a damning reel of every trespass, every lie, overlaid with the real county lines. The crowd, neighbors, farmers, even HOA skeptics sat stunned. The vote to expand the HOA's boundary failed 70-30. Susan quit. Harold stormed out, his career in tatters. Walter sat on his porch that night, sweet tea in hand, watching fireflies. Ellie joined him. You won, she said. He shook his head. The land won. I just didn't lose it. She grinned. What now? He leaned back. We wait. Another fool will come. But this place belongs to the one who stays. The fence stood tall. The cameras rolled. And Walter watched, always ready. What did you think of Walter's stand? Was he a hero defending his rights? Or did he go too far with his traps and jammers? Share your thoughts in the comments, especially on how far you'd go to protect what's yours. Have you faced injustice or overreach in your life? Take a stand and let us know.